Welcome back. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Billy Magnussen, the star of Barry Levinson's new film, Survivor, The Survivor, which is on HBO later. Yeah. Billy, thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
So I wanted to start. Obviously, you play, it's a very complicated part. You play a Nazi soldier in World War II who takes Harry Haft, who survives Auschwitz and ends up being a boxer, as his, you basically you become his fight manager. It's a pretty harrowing story, I guess. Where did you start on your preparation for the part, and what your thoughts were about how to approach playing Schneider?
Again, just more being enthralled and excited about the character of Harry Haft and the obstacles he came over. That was the real big journey for this film, for me in this film, is to understand his story very clearly, and what PTSD actually does someone, again, surviving World War II in that way of fighting his way out of it. So I think when I first approached the character is really being the best obstacle for Ben Foster and Harry Haft through the story. That was my job. I'm not as I moved through it, it's a really horrible character I played, Schneider. And it is in dark places. And again, like everything, they're all trying to survive through this film, through their circumstances. So I kind of more attacked it by being if I could be the biggest hurdle or combative situation or antagonist to Harry Haft and Ben through this process, I will do my job successfully. That doesn't mean I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the time working with Barry Levinson, Maddie Lesham, Aaron. It was wonderful working with these talented artists. But yeah, it goes into some deep places. Again, the accent work, the language work, practicing. Literally, I don't know if you saw, but half the film is speaking German and the other half is a German accent when you spoke to a Jewish person. So it was constantly flip-flopping languages as I worked. So getting his voice and cadence of who this man is was a big task for me to undergo in pursuing this character or understanding him.
That's really a couple of things there I want to go back to, but one about the accent.
Yeah, I know. I vomited a lot.
That was great. And
I get really excited about this stuff. I'm so proud of this work. I am just so proud and pumped because again, I'm me and I'm this guy, Billy, and then to get these opportunities as an actor, you're this is what we live for. These are the moments I love.
Right.
I interviewed my ass doing this shit, man.
No, it's really good. I mean, I'll tell you this, I interviewed Barry Levinson for this as well. And I asked him about you because I was so impressed with your performance. And he was oh, when he was doing the auditions, he saw a lot of actors and many of whom were German. And then he assumed you were German because of in your audition, your accent was so on point already. And I was that's so incredible. And be able to do that accent so believably, I just was that's really impressive. I mean, how, are you, not to sound too silly, but the accent, how do you do such a good accent? Your accent work is so good in that part. I just think it's really impressive. I mean, yeah, where do you where do you start with that?
Again, in the society we are now, I there's only certain characters I can play.
Right.
So let me get those down so I can have them in my toolbox as I move through my profession. So again, that's kind of where I have to operate. So growing up or going to college, I studied under a wonderful teacher, Mary Irwin, and just how to attack language from all aspects, especially accents and dialogue. Dialect is another thing. Cadence of the way people speak and how an idea is formed. For me, doing an accent is not just making it sound well. It's an example, in French, English, if I said, give that to me, the action, give the object that to me, right? Object, subject, yeah, whatever, where it's going to. But in French, it would pronounce tu le me donnes. And that's you, me, it, give. So the actual construction of the thought is different, which blows my mind. So I think you have to bring dialect and the way people communicate into accents and into how they speak. So
yeah, I mean, I do think that works too, because then it seems so natural, right? Like it just sounds like a normal occurrence, right? Like to hear it rather than like someone trying to speak in an accent, I guess.
yeah, well, I think that's it. Like people are great at accents, but are you actually who's speaking? Like, is it someone looking for the words? Because like you could practice an accent and be brilliant at it, but what if it's someone that's not good with the words? So like they have to find them and discover them, and that I think that comes all into character and going deeper and deeper. Yeah, I just got lucky. In I don't know, man. It's all chaos.
Well,
I worked so hard, but again, like he said, like it's something Barry saw in me that day where I loved the script and the audition, and I remember auditioning for it and being like, I want this.
Yeah.
The
other thing you mentioned there too that I loved about it, and I had not thought of actually when you were talking about playing it, like playing it from the perspective, or like thinking of it from the perspective of how you're gonna be an obstacle for Harry, I thought was such an interesting way to approach it as well for the character. And I guess can you talk about how did you manifest that with, I guess, with Ben and Barry, like, and how you thought about like, because it's my sense of Barry, obviously you worked with him, so you maybe won't be able to tell me if this is incredibly wrong, is that he is, if not improvisational on set, like open to ideas and like open to the actors, like making sure it feels like real. Like I think Ben said he has like definitely a no bullshit meter that's very highly tuned. So like, I guess, how did you work on the scenes with Ben and Barry to make it feel like so authentic and like realistic?
It's really fun. Like Ben Foster, working with him, like we talked very little before the project. We knew our parts and our roles and who we were in this world, and the challenge or the relationship they had. We were clear on the relationship. You know, again, Harry was trying to survive. Obersturm Dietrich Schneider was trying to survive as well. Obersturm Dietrich Schneider knew he was gonna the war was gonna be lost by the Nazis, so he was trying to find his way out. And there was a recognition by both of them that if we went down this path as a unit, we could possibly get out of this alive. And that's a scary spot, especially given the circumstances of who they were and, you know, their backgrounds and the different sides of the field they were on. So going with that, there was this weird, intimate, fear-loving relationship that they had, because Harry would survive, eat, live, be fed. And, you know, Schneider felt the same way. He could entertain and build his way up in the ranks and build his, you know, grandioso. He saw it as a tool for him to get out as well. So I think that balance of like there's this like weird love to the biggest trauma that you're receiving. It's really a crazy relationship, which I kind of love about it. That's what Doug.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's like really complicated. I think the whole movie is like you're mentioning, like, I mean, like the cost of survival and like what somebody has to go through. I think it's just stuff that even if you are, it's just stuff that not always is talked about, especially about like in movies about the Holocaust or all these different things. Like, I mean, I think it's like a really compelling entry point into like the history and the stories. That's like another.
But again, like what Barry has done with this film, it's about PTSD and like how it doesn't matter the distance of times you have with trauma, it comes back, it comes flooding back. And the realization like that. And I think it's a really beautiful thing Barry tried to, you know, really incorporate into the story is the trauma that people feel as they move even after they're got past these situations. It's real and it lives with them. And it's just scary. Like, and like, I don't know about you, but I have my own little traumas that I'll be pulled back into. Nothing as drastic as that, but like we all have the human experience. And I didn't understand the you know, how impactful a thought could be because of PTSD.
Right. You play, I mean, like obviously Schneider is maybe not an exception. He's a Nazi is obviously the most villainous, but obviously you do play like a lot of nefarious characters often, or like villainous characters. Do you like when you're doing that? Do you like, how do you approach it? Do you try to like think of their perspective, or like, how do you work on that and like, for your own, or are you just like, I'll just, I don't need to think of it in that fashion?
I've said this quote many times, and I truly believe it. No one is a villain in their own story. So you have to, as an actor, find what is their driving force, what is their gasoline, what is the fire burning in them, why do they need to move forward? Because in their head, it is not. I was actually talking and working with a very, very well-known actor right now, Vincent D'Onofrio, and fantastic gentleman. Yes. I love him more than anything. Awesome. He's awesome. And we were talking about playing crazy characters and all these things. And he was, again, I'm butchering his quote, or I don't want to misquote him too crazy, but there is no difference between us and like a psychopath. It's just they're making it objectively okay. They're just saying, no, this is how it's supposed to be. So they're always justified that they're doing the right thing. And that's kind of how I think you come to some of these villainous characters, or these like dark people. They're justified within their spirit that they're doing the right thing.
Right. And I think you do that really well.
What?
I think you do that really well with Schneider too, because like, I think it's like, you're like, I think the movie doesn't obviously sympathize with him at all, but I think you definitely present like his perspective on things, and like the movie does as well. It's like not, I think there's a version of this that's very cartoonishly villainous, or just over the top villainous. And I think you get like a really more nuanced approach of it, honestly. In the film.
Also, there was this relationship. We kept using the analogy of like horrible that this even horrible did this story even happen, but also horrible that like a master and its dog, its pet, and it trains it to fight. Right. And that's like another thing. It's to feed and take care of this thing, and then still beat it down. It's like this exists still in this world. It's like that's another facet of this relationship they had. It's master and its animal. Right. It was wild. But again, like working with Ben Foster, who also we locked into it. I mean, his performance is unbelievable. Jesus.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah. So every day was just fantastic.
What was like? I know you said like you were psyched about like working with Barry and stuff. What was, I guess, what's like, he's obviously a legendary filmmaker. Like what surprised you about him, or like what were you like? Oh, this is really cool. That this is like.
He's always eating a sandwich when he's talking to you. No, there's this ease to him, and like the directors that I've always loved and really gravitated towards or had a great relationship was people that they're discovering, and they're artists, and they understand that it's a communal art form, and they're just figuring it out together, and it's jazz, it's music, and there's this ease about it. If we're all in a place to operate, to our full potential without stress or these things, we can really create something magical and powerful. So it's this ease and like coolness that he had.
Yeah.
Control.
You've been
control.
No, it's good. You've been incredibly busy, it seems. I know you've had you're doing stuff now. You have Made for Love coming back, right, for a season 2 eventually.
Yeah.
I know that also another complicated character. I guess what have you talked? What are you excited about for season 2? And like, where are you at on that at this point? Like what
we finally wrapped it. It's coming out in April. Very excited again to work with Alyssa Nutting and Christina Lee. I think they created a beautiful, beautiful show. And then, to have Kristen Milioti, Ray Romano, Noma Demeswini, Caleb Foote, all these people in the cast with you. You're just like, God, I'm so lucky.
And I remember I read something. I think you did an interview with Vanity Fair, maybe at the end of, I guess, season 1, it must have been, but you had talked about like how you were excited to explore more of Byron's, backstory and history and stuff for season 2. I guess, did you get to, is that something that you're going to
I don't want to say anything. I mean, like, it's great. Watch it. Okay. We had fun making it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah. And then, I know you, like I said, you have a ton of stuff. I just want to ask you briefly about Many Saints of Newark. I'm sure you talked about it a lot, but you were so good as Paulie Walnuts. And wow. I just was surprised. It was not. It was again a surprise. I was just like, oh, that's so not somebody I would have immediately thought of because I don't think of you and I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Who is it? Like Paul Cicero. As I would not like in my head picture you together, but I was having seen it. I'm like, oh, it actually really worked, and it was so cool. I don't know. I guess like what was that experience like getting to do that? And like again, I'm sure you've talked about it to death, but I was just curious about it because I enjoyed your performance.
It's funny, like each project has always been a different approach to a character, especially the meta of playing. So what I realized is like playing Paulie, you know, Tony is an actor and stuff like that, but Tony's Tony. And so it's like, do I study the character he's playing or do I study Tony,
yes,
who he is as a person? So it was a mixture of that, watching over the seasons and stuff, knowing the relationships of the characters as much as you can. And then just, you know, playing with it and having fun mannerisms and being like, where does these ticks come from? What's he actually doing with this? What defense mechanism is this? Where is it? You know, I mean, a lot more of my work was done that did not make it on screen, but you know, it was still a great group of guys. I loved everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, oh God, Corey Stoll. I remember I heard an interview with him once. First of all, wonderful man to work with, and so talented. He said it's a really crazy industry to be in because, like, even doing Oberstrom Dietrich Schneider is like we are asked to have the imagination, the vulnerability, and the childlike, the wonder of a child as we work, but keep it completely professional and serious and whatever. So to be on this balancing line of being absolutely quote unquote playful and dead professional is one of the challenging things. So like working with like Barry, you do have this sense I'm safe to go to these places, especially with such a wild character like you know, Schneider. So
yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, your stuff, you've been constant. Like, I feel like you've been in so many things, like I said, and like always a high point, I think, for people who watch these things. So, and this is, I think, one of your best.
Hopefully someday I'll have a movie, man. I'll be in a movie.
It's great. Billy Magnussen, thank you so much for doing.
Thank you so much, Christopher. It was a pleasure.